Hello everyone. Welcome to our event, Pi and AI Kochi Introduction to RNN. This session will be handled by Mr. Vishnu Anilkumar, a Senior Machine Learning Engineer at Quantify. So in this session, Mr. Vishnu will walk us through the same and talk about the best practices, latest trends, and its various applications. So Vishnu, you may start now.
Yeah, okay. So I assume you can hear me, and also my screen
Yes,
is
you're audible.
okay. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
it's visible.
great. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Vishnu. I am working in Quantify as a machine learning engineer. So in the today's session, we will be discussing CNN and the current trends in sequential modeling. So yeah, let's get into it. So, RNN or recurrent neural networks are a class of neural networks that are helpful in modeling sequential data. So basically, they are derived from feed-forward networks. The RNN exhibits, or they are expected to exhibit the similar behavior to that of how human brains works. Simply saying, like, RNN produce predictive results in sequential data where other algorithms cannot. So it worked like the principle of RNN is like the saving the output of particular layer and feeding this back to the input in order to predict the output layer. That's a basic principle of RNN. So I have structured the whole session as like this. I will be going through the history. History is not that boring, but I try to skip the boring part. And I will be explaining the basic RNN and different flavors of RNN. And from those flavors, I have take one for the representing an example, and I will be showing its architecture, the pros and cons of RNN, and what's after the RNN, what is the trend right now in the field of RNN. That's what I have planned. So. Like many other deep learning algorithms, this RNN is also relatively old. They are initially created in the early 80s actually. I know that sounds a little bit old, but yeah, they are created in late 80s. But only in recent years we have seen their true potential actually. uh, like the main reason is that the increase in computational power along with massive amounts of data, that's the main thing right now. We have RNN uh, popular. So along with RNN, we might have heard like LSTM. It's an upgrade over the RNN. So in this session, I will be sticking with the RNN only. Let's go to the some basic history of RNN. So history of RNN. Actually, as I said, it's in 1980s, right? So, to be precise, it was brought up in 1986, and the famous LSTM also, it was brought up in 1997, I guess. So, as you can see, the number of well-known architectures based on RNN is much less than that compared of CNN. Yeah, there is a pretty much reason for that, because as you can, as everyone knows, and picture is a worth a thousand words, right? That is, image has much more information and space maneuver compared to that of RNN. In the field of CNN, we have multiple architectures like ResNet, VGG16, 18, Inception, V1, V2, V3, YOLO. There are a lot of architectures that brought up after CNN. But the evolutionary history of RNN is not that much colorful compared to that of CNN. That is the main reason. Also, that's pretty much about the history. Now, let me get into the core RNN part. What is RNN? Where it is used and all. So there are many sequential modeling problems in your daily life. For example, like machine translation, like translating one language to another, voice recognition, text classification, DNA sequencing. So as you can see, all these problems are supervised problems. There is one more something else is common in these problems definitions. Can you guess that? In this voice recognition, text classification, DNA sequencing, and these things, they are supervised problems. Also, their input and output size are varying. Like they have a varying input size and they have a sequential methodology also. Other than the normal neural networks, these problems are sequentially dependent. Like the past and present have a significant dependency to each other. So as I said, either the input or output of the model is sequential with a variable size. In the case of a text classification, the input size can vary as much as it can. Suppose, let's say we have to classify a sentence, whether it is a positive or a negative. The input can vary from 5 words to 100 words. It depends upon the review of a customer in a platform. Handling these were kind of a tough task for common neural networks. So based on these different types of tasks, we also have different flavors of RNN. So I will explain each type of RNN actually, and give a basic example for each of them. So in the coming slide, I will be explaining multiple types of RNN. This is one-to-one RNN, where the input is there will be single input and there will be single output. The example for this one is like image classification. So I will be providing an image and I will be getting an image class, or what that image is, passing an image. Like for dog, if I train correctly, I will get prediction almost it is a dog. Sometimes I will get cat. You all know that, right? Okay. So it depends upon the problem, whether to choose one-on-one or one-to-many. The next one is one-to-many. So we will be providing an input, and for that input, we will be getting multiple outputs. Multiple outputs in the sense, for example, we will be providing an image of a dog sitting in a cup. We'll be getting a dog or a puppy sitting in a cup. So that will be our output. So input is a single one. Output will be varying size. So as you can see, the problem complexity increases. The limitation of normal neural networks is visible here, right? So these are the places where RNN outperforms the normal neural networks. So there are other type of one. This is many-to-one. As I explained the example earlier, the many-to-one RNN is used for sentiment analysis, text classification, where you will have a varying length of inputs, and outputs will be either of any classes. Like it can be 1, it can be 0, it can be any of the 1 classes. Only 1 class will be the output. So that's how the many-to-one type of flavor of RNN works. Then we have another type of RNN, which is many-to-many. That is the one I am going to focus on this session. I'll be showing its architecture and how the weights are calculated. I'm not going into deep derivations of all these calculations because that will be complex for the video and stuff. So next one is a many-to-many. So in the many-to-many, it will be like I have a varying size input, and the input size, if the input size is 10 words, then I am expecting a 10 words output. That's a many-to-many thing here. For example, the NER recognition. Let's say I am providing an input. The model is supposed to detect a entity from the sentence. So in the case of a let's say I am providing a sentence like I am Vishnu. The task is to I will get a 3 nodes, just high level saying I will get a 3 nodes. The first node will be 0, the second node will be 0, because I and am are not a person's name, but the third one will be a 1. That is what I am expecting from the output. So based upon the varying input, my output also changes. So this is a typical task where RNN outperforms all other normal neural networks. So this is an example for that. Here you can see, right? As you can see, X is a sentence, and you can see wherever there is a one, there is a person name. So that is here. One means name, zero means it's not a name. This is how a normal what I am expecting from many to many. You can add another also, right? Like a name is a one factor, location is there. There are a couple of other NER problems like BIO tagging. There is a couple of other uh, uh, flavors of NER problems. So you can apply all those using minute to minute. So right now you might have still some confusion why RNN? I mean, why not normal neural networks actually? So yeah, let's get into that part also. Let's clear the doubts before diving deep. So why RNN? Why not normal neural networks? So as I mentioned earlier, the RNN can handle varying input and output size. And normal neural networks doesn't share the information across the networks. That is, RNN could share the past information to the next cell, having by having a recursive processing unit. So that's a high level term. That is with a hidden state derived from the past. Like we have a hidden state derived from the past, which is used to calculate the current input state. I'll explain this with the architecture also. I will go multiple passes through this explanation to make it clear. So the recursive nature of the architecture, as you can see, it is like a human recollecting its previous memory. Once I explained, like Mr. X is doing something. From next sentence, I might be using he. So that's how our brain points that X to he. So what we are trying to achieve, as you can see, it is invented in early 80s. Okay. So we cannot say it's a bad network or something, but as you can see, they're trying to achieve something by providing a memory to the networks. So as I said, the recursive nature of this architecture is both a blessing and a curse. So the blessing is that it can handle inputs or outputs of varied size. So, but it comes with a cost. In addition to these difficulties of remembering the past, there are some problems. The main problems are technical jargon. The main problem is vanishing and exploding gradients. I hope everyone in this session have basic programming experience. Like I hope you guys have done recursion in your programming. It's the same as it is for recursive programs. Like you get Stack Overflow error or out of memory errors, right? Like Stack Overflow, because when the code stack exceeds due to the excessive deep or infinite recursion. Out of memory is happens when, for example, you'll see the application in the Windows operating system shows this error because no additional memory can be assigned to for that application. So same happens to RNN. Those are a high level explanation, the same as vanishing and exploding gradient. These are based due to some functions we choose in this architecture. The architecture level designing is made to intend to make that error. So yeah, that's now yeah, this is the architecture. So here consider these three nodes in the unfolded version. Okay, this unfolded version, there are three nodes. So consider three nodes as three words. Okay, the first node, first word, second word, third word. So as you can see, the second word is dependent on the first word, and actually the next word will be dependent on the previous word. So the weight matrices are created to pass to the next calculation of the next state. So In this example, in the first node is Harry, Potter, and so the first word will be Harry, Potter, and so the Potter will be dependent on the weight matrices of Harry actually. Same as and is dependent on Potter actually. So there is a dependency in the previous node. That is what I'm saying in this ST-1. This is the current state. This is the previous state. This is the next state. Always the next state is dependent on the previous state. Basically, the RN architecture is a self-looping or recursive pointer to itself. Here, X is an input, O is an output, and where there is a W, which is a hidden state or a hidden matrix that carries the memory throughout the networks. So in this problem, as you can see, the input number is equal to the output number, which is here. The Tx is equal to Ty. Usually we can initialize the weight with zeros, but there are other practices where the weights and these ST or memory in the initial time, it can be initialized with some random values. The weight matrix W is the memory of RNN, which is the RNN is trying to maintain the memory throughout the network. But I don't think RNN can remember that much things. But eventually, those memories fades away as the length of the string increases. Let me come to the activation functions before saying that. The main reason this is occurring to RNN is because of the choice of its activation functions, which was solved in its next upgrades like gated recurrent units and LSTM, but still RNN suffers these issues. Basically, I will explain the high level of what is activation functions are. They are basically they basically decide whether the neuron should be activated or not. In RNN, except for the output layers, we usually stick with TANH or and ReLU actually. Why I excluded the output layer is because it depends upon our problem definition. As you can see, I have different flavors, right? And different types of problems also. As output layers or my problem changes, the selection of the output activation function also changes. So in our problem, as per the NER problem or entity recognition task, sigmoid is a best or as we can we only have two classes. And next we will be calculating a couple of things. Like we are going to calculate the hidden how a hidden layer is calculated, or as we have an input, as we have an X as an input, and or let's say this X, as we have an X as input and we have previous hidden weight, and how are we going to calculate a current hidden state actually. That is what we are going to I'm going to explain in the next session. So before that, let me give you a high level of what is TANH is. TANH and ReLU are, those are activation functions which whenever like in the case of TANH, there is an equation behind that. I'm not going to explain that. In the case of TANH, it takes any real values actually. It takes any real values as input, and output will be trimmed to a range like -1 to 1. The output will be -1 to 1 range. So whatever comes into the input, it will be converted to stick to this range. You should only be in this range, never exceed, never flow. So while using the TANH, there will be a how can I say? There will be a balance in the network. But in the case of ReLU is like when there is a positive value, it will pass through. Yeah, you can go. But if it is a negative value, it will be converted to 0. So eventually, you will end up having a lot of dead nodes, or you will explode due to these upper bounded values. The whole networks will be unbalanced. Say. So let's calculate the hidden state. Okay. I'm not going to be going to use any complex or any other derivation here. Just showing how can we calculate the hidden layer. So here the HT is the current state. HT -1 is the previous state. In a 3-word, let's say if I am calculating the sender word, The HT minus 1 is the first word's hidden state. The XT is the second word. XT is the second word, and HT is the second word's hidden weight. So that's what we are going to calculate. Here the equation will be like our current state is equal to like the tan x of weight at the recurrent neuron multiplied by previously hidden state, adding that to weight at the input neuron into current input. That's how we calculate the HT. The HT is calculated based on that. So similarly, we can also calculate the output state. Actually, the output states are basically similar, but in this output state, we will be using the hidden layer and the weight at the output matrix. Also, the weight at the V actually. We will be using the ST and weight at the V to calculate the OT. The output state. So in outputs, regarding the output state, where OT is the label we want, whether it's a person or whether it's a name or not. So WHY is the weighted output layer. So it will be OT is equal to activation function of weighted the output layer into current state. Here we will be sticking with the softmax as I earlier. But do you think this is enough? I mean, what if the output prediction is wrong? The network should be able to correct itself, right? So as we know, there is something that does this thing, right? It was doing its job for a long time. Yes, the back propagation actually. Yeah, we can use back propagation here also. But the main idea behind the backprop is to reduce the network's error actually. For that, we will be comparing the predicted with the actual output, and we'll be updating the weight accordingly. So we will find derivatives and which are passed to the gradient descent. Gradient descent is an iterative error minimizing algorithm. Okay. It will minimize the error or maximize error based upon the derivatives it gets. So it will tell us whether you have predicted right value or not. So it like the derivatives are used by gradient descent, which iteratively minimizes the given function. Thereby, like adjusting the error is up or error is down, you have to put more focus on those nodes, and it will be saying those things. But in RNN, as I have said, it is always dependent upon time. It has a past, it has a present. Yeah, it has. Do you think this normal backpropagation is enough? Because this is not going to work, because our all nodes have time steps. At each time step, the error will be different because each time step has different words. So normal error correction is not possible actually. We need someone else. I mean, someone with extra juice. Yes, we have someone for that. That's back propagation through time, or BPTT in short. Actually, BPTT is just a fancy bus, but yeah, it's like doing the backprop in an unrolled manner. That's all it doing it. But if you want to explore, you can. I'm advising you guys how to derive these things. It is really nice when you go through this thing, how it is happening, and how in RNN these values are updated and all. So in the case of BPTT, BPTT is like is required because error of a given time step depends upon the previous time step. It is not in the case of normal recurrent normal neural networks. It is not in the not the case of other neural networks, but in the case of RNN, the previous state is dependent. Within BPTT, the error is propagated, back propagated from the last to the first time step. Let's say you have 9 words. So from the 9th word, it is back propagated to first word. So while unrolling all the time steps, this allows us to calculating the error at each time step, which allows updating weights also. But as you can see, there is always a catch, right? So BPTT is very much computationally expensive as our sentence length increases. See, we have 10 length. The BPTT will traverse through 10 and correct the error of each. But what if you have 500 words? uh, what if we are going to predict the next character, actually character level prediction? So you can see these changes. These things are the BPTT become more computationally expensive as the number of time steps increases. So that is one of the reason uh, we have to face while using RNN. And in the next, I'll be explaining the pros and cons of RNN, actually. Um, so the advantages, as I said, the RNN are can handle the varying input length and size, and it has a memory, actually. That's the advantage of normal neural networks. The weights can be shared across the time steps, but still it is facing some disadvantages, right? As I mentioned earlier, there is a gradient vanishing and exploding problem, and it's a little bit difficult compared to other architectures to train and all. And long sentences, like if you use large sentences, it might lose information throughout the when the complexity of sentence increases. As the number of words in a sentence increases, it's kind of like it forgets the connection between the first and last words. It does not even consider, it is not even trying to consider the relationship between the first word and the last word. It diminishes as it reaches the end. The effect of the first word does not will be available for the last word. So during the training, all deep neural networks, the gradients are propagated back in time all the way to initial layer. So when the gradients that come from the deeper layers go through multiple matrix multiplication, actually, go through chain rule. When they approach the earlier layers, let's say if they have small values that is less than one, they shrink exponentially, actually, and eventually they will vanish. So which causes the gradient vanishing problem. While in the case of large values, they will eventually blows up or crash the model, which causes the exploding gradient problem. Also, there is another issue with that. That is a major issue. Another one is a minor one. Like the sequences must be processed word by word. You see, in the 1980s, it will be fine because we will not be using NVIDIA graphics or multitasking or multiple parallel processing or anything. But right now, this is the reason why LSTM and RNN cannot be trained in parallel also, because that sentence must be processed word by word. In order to encode the second word in a sentence, I need to I need the previously computed hidden state of the first word. See, the second word is dependent on the first word, so I have to wait for the first word to complete to train the second word. So I need the previously computed hidden state for the first word. Therefore, I need to compute that first. The point is that the encoding of specific word is retained only for the next time step, which means that encoding of the word strongly affect the adjacent representation. Like I am Vishnu, I have strong influence on am, actually, but not that much influence on the my name part. So eventually that is not enough, right? That is not nearly enough as we're trying to mimic human's brain. And Another thing I remember is like these sequential models follow a Markov property that each state is assumed to be dependent only on the previous state. I don't think that's a real case, right? In the real case, it is not like that. We have a history of memory in us. Based on that memory, we'll be acting situation differently. So it depends upon more than just adjacent memory. Like what? Just think it like this. What if we remember only in the last day? We don't remember much about the day before that, or we don't remember anything before a week. So it's the same thing. So that's a issue, the RNN actually. Let's go through a quick recap actually. So for what we have done. Let's start from first. A single time step of input is applied to the network, and an input word is supplied to the network. We then calculate its current state using a combination of current input and the previous state. That is, we calculate the HT. Then the current state becomes the previous step. As the time changes, right? The present becomes past. So we can go on like this. Once all the time steps are calculated, the final current state is calculated using the output. The current state is used to calculate the output state. Then we use our BPTT to traverse through the network, and that's how our networks are trained. That's about the RNN. And yeah, I know kill is a sharp word to use, but sorry, sequential models, long-lived transformers. Actually, the transformers are really improved version of the sequential model. In NLP, it's an architecture that aims to solve a lot of sequence to sequence tasks while handling these long range dependencies also. If you are curious to know what replaced or what killed RNN or LSTM, please go through a paper, a research paper called "Attention is All You Need," because it is easy to read and it's very explanatory actually. And I strongly recommend you guys go through that paper or any source like videos or anything that depicts that transformer. So I will explain something like what are the advantages of transformers. But as I didn't go through a depth in the back propagation or back propagation through time. I'm also covering the high level view of the transformers. Okay, so what make the transformers unique and all. So, because it needs separate session for explaining the transformers different mechanism of handling the importance of each word in a sentence. Uh, just consider like this: someone talking to you, and you will not be only listening to the last word they said, right? You'll be getting a comprehensive understanding of what someone is talking. And the transformers is trying to mimic the same. They are using the whole word and trying to find how much important is one word compared to another, how much important does this word contribute to the problem. So to an extent, transformers is a set of the art actually. Yeah, let's go through the next one. Okay, transformers. Okay, they are non-sequential. The meaning that we don't have to wait for another word's wait. Actually, we can go parallel. Then there is a self attention mechanism and positional encoding. So self attention, let's say like simply put, the self attention mechanism allows the input to interact with each other actually. If taken this sentence, it will interact with each other and find out who they should pay more attention to. So you see, self and attention, who they should attention to. And the outputs are aggregates of these interaction actually, kind of attention scores actually. And when you go deep to that, you will find, if you are curious, you will find these Corey key values actually. There are some of weight matrices which are initialized to uh, learn this relationship actually. Actually, I could go on with that tension, but this might need an entire session actually. Then this positional encoding actually, in a sentence, position of each word is important actually. So attention, our transformers are also trying to keep track of these uh, this order of each word in a sentence. Like each position in a word inputs are stored, which provides a position by importance. It is essential in a conversation or understanding contextually how important a word is. Uh, thank you, everyone. That's pretty much it. That's what I intend to cover in RNN. Um, yeah. Do you have any questions actually?
Uh, Hey guys, just before we start with the questions, I've put a link there in the chat box. So, just after the session, I'll update everything as of now. So the YouTube link, I'll upload the full recording on YouTube and all the PPT and the resources which Vishnu is sharing. I will update it everything. I'll update everything there in a few days, like 1 or 2 days. So, yeah, just look out for it. And yeah, you all can ask your questions now.
Yeah, also, 1 second. Like I have created an implementation or code which I will share it with Utkarsh, which can also be available in the repo in coming days. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I'll update that.
Yeah, Vishnu, can you please share maybe the few ideas about the maybe disadvantage of RNN that you mentioned about in the research paper?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So the issue with the RNA actually is like actually they are made in 1980s. Okay, and from that day, most of the research was focused on convolution neural networks or in the image processing field, which had higher priority at hand. And the issue with the RNN is we need a lot of training data initially. We need a lot of training data, a lot of computational power. I remember initially when I started ML, I was using a basic system which crashed a lot of times, which I didn't know what was the reason, but it was not developed, or the architecture was not intended to run parallelly. It won't be using the your CPU's cores multiple cores, mainly because it is no, it will wait for, it is a sequential processing. Like when you provide a word, each word by word or character by character, it is like it is using like that. So it is not the case of transformers. Actually, when I say bird is an application of transformer. They have a pre-trained memory actually. uh, so in my experience, you don't need like even 100 rows of data can provide you better accuracy in bird. So that's the efficiency of the bird, where you only need 100 rows because it has a predefined memory, or a pre-trained weight. One more thing is like the thing about vanishing and exploding gradients. uh, in LSTM or RNN, as the length of sentence increases, let's say we have 50 words in a sentence, the impact of weight in the first word won't be there for the 50th word. Eventually, it will be lost. So the traversal from first word to 50 word will be. It's not that big word. 50 is a common word for transformers, but for LSTM, it is a huge word. And also, you have to traverse and update the weights in this 50 words. Also, you have to run back propagation also. See, it is getting more complex and computationally expensive. also we are getting poor result. And so the only thing that can improve our accuracy is like we can do a bidirectional RNN actually. That bidirectional, it has a valid point. In transformers, it is a bidirectional actually. These both actually, it is a bidirectional or it has multi-directional when you put like that. The sentences are read from 0 1 to end to start. So the contextual metrics created from these interactions are really contextually meaningful. But now I have only explained the normal RNN. Okay, when it comes to bidirectional RNN, you can just imagine. See, the weight updation is going to be so cruel. Your whole system going to be will be in pain while training the RNN. So that is the main issue with the RNN. The training process is very painful.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I hope I cleared.
Can you please put that paper name in the chat, please?
Mahesh, like actually, I have updated it in the GitHub repo, which I've said. Anyways, I'll just put the link here itself. Just a sec.
Thank you.
Yeah. You mean the Transformers paper, right? Attention all is all you need.
I think he meant that.
Okay, great.
Is any other question if you'll have? So Vishnu, I have a question. So
Yeah.
basically, like, if like I am currently working on a like planning to work on a research paper,
Okay.
which is basically around stock prices forecasting.
Okay.
So like I was looking around. So RNN and LSTM was the first thing because time series, so it could store stocks, open price, close price, everything it could store. So that would be useful. So what in your suggestion would be the better approach, either going for RNN or LSTM, and what are the reasons like, and how each one of them will have advantages or disadvantages like.
Actually, have you tried the RNN or LSTM before?
I have done a little bit RNN, but not done LSTM.
Actually, LSTM has, as we discussed, there are a couple of loopholes in RNN, right? The vanishing gradient, exploding gradient, the issue with the activation functions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these things are controlled in RNN. RNN introduced multiple gates actually, input, output, and forget gates. So sorry, not RNN, the LSTM. So what LSTM does is like LSTM has a forget gate which has a mechanism to decide whether we have to keep this word or not. So that's a modification of LSTM. Eventually, it's the same architecture, but much smaller, slower actually. So there are transformers built for time series actually. You can explore that one also.
Sure.
But I may, if you have time with you, I'm asking you to go through all these compare, because that's how you can benchmark, what are the issues, how we have came so far. But if you are doing it on a project or that purpose, I prefer you go to the solution first, then revisit these archives.
So I think
Yeah.
we don't have any more questions. So I think that is it. So Vishnu, thanks a lot for such a wonderful session. I think it was very insightful for all of us who have joined today. Thanks a lot for the session.
Yeah, sure, sure. Thanks for providing me this opportunity, actually. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So, like, guys, if we don't have any other further questions, I have put the link. Just check it back in like 2-3 days. I'll update everything. So, yeah, I think that's it. We can wind up the session.
Yeah, sure.
Once again, thanks, Vishnu, and thanks all of you for joining for the session.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
guys.
I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.